Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be part 2 of the news API project. In part 1, we did stop at this. Let's go to the news. Let's go to this one. This is the local one. So we stopped at the hero portion and we randomized it. So if we look over uh, back at our code, let's put this here. Let's wrap this. So we can see in the hero, we already randomized this. So now all our images, so if we click this, we didn't start the server. Sorry, npm run start. And next, give me 1 second here. Let's see, where is, next we just save this and let's run it again. And close that out. And then we can start the client section. Okay, so as you guys can see, this part's randomized. This is the hero section. Let's just close this out. Let's get rid of this. So let's go back to hero. So this part's randomized. So the way we can see is if we click this again, another one comes up. So everything is still the same way we left it in the last one. So currently what we want to do is let's finish building out this this button so we can actually see it. Where do we have it? We have this. So this is going to be read, and this is going to be next. Save. Okay, so next is over here. Read is somewhere. So let's just give it some color. Let's go back to our the one in develop. Let's go back to the one in development. In production, let's see, nav, hero. I just want to give it the same color, so there's no change in it. The color is this, so we're just gonna go text white, rounded. And we're just gonna give it all of this, basically, this whole class name. And I will show you what it is once I'm done with it. Here we go. Was that for read? That was for next. So to read, then next. So I have this the other way around. Read, and then next. Okay, so if we put class name, there we go. So that's next. And read was, I will be going over like what I used as the CSS for it. Let's just get this from here first because I want to make sure everything's in uniform. So class name, there we go. So we have read and then we have next. So what I did was I made both text white. I made the font bold. I gave it a margin of 2. So if I take this off, you'll see, like, actually, it doesn't really need a margin, right? It's fine. So, but let's just do that. Remember, it's my CSS. So however you want to position yours, it's completely fine. This is the way I chose to position mine. Let's just make sure you can see me properly here. Yeah, so the way I chose to position mine is this. I give it a padding, so this is the padding of the button. So if I said padding 2, just make it bigger, as you can see right there. So let's go padding 1. And then I made sure the button was background green, 500. That's the opacity, opacity. Basically, the opaqueness is 500. It's rounded XL. So if I said rounded small, that would be the difference. Let's make this. If I said round small, it looks like that. So we want it to be XL so that it looks like this. That's how we get that. And basically the same thing for this, except we use background yellow 400 and rounded XL. But and we don't put a margin 2 here. We just keep it at padding 1 and the text white. So now what we want to do, if we look at the one that's already been developed, now we have these. We have business, sports, and science. We have this right here. We'll work on this portion and then do the nav part afterwards. Okay, so in order to do this, we have to come back to the component section. And in the components, we're going to create something called, I believe I called it news headlines or something like that. 1 second. I called it headline nav. Okay. So we're gonna call this headline uh, headline nav.jsx and RAFCE, and we're gonna take this component back to app.js, and we're gonna install it right here. What do we call it? Headline nav, and then close that out. And so if we look here now in our development, in our local development, we're going to see headline nav because that is what's in here. However, remember, we want it to be this. We want it to be this 3 tabs. So what I want to do is, or what I'm going to do, just to preserve the amount of requests we can make, is I'm going to go over here, and everything in here, I'm just going to comment out, just so we don't keep okay, let's do it this way. That was basically overkill. So let's see. We come here, do this, and then we can come here and do this. Cool. So now we only have headline nav. So we commented all that out just so we don't keep calling the API. And then now, let's just do it this way. Now we want to install, what's it called? We want to install Material UI as a dependency. So we can come in here and we go to Material MUI.com and just take this, copy it, bring it back to client. Let's go back here, bring it back right to client, Control C, and install that. So while that's installing, let's see, I have some notes over here just to make sure. Okay, so we're going to be naming it Business, Sports, and Science. Cool. Just making sure I have all my notes for that so I don't keep switching back and forth. React, run, start. Cool. So let's see if it installed. Material UI. If we come up here, it should be here. Yep, at MUI/material. This is the 5.12 version. So that's just a check. Now we're going to be bouncing back and forth again. We're going to go back to the routes, just like we did the hero route. And this time we're going to be we're going to be making 3 files. We're going to be doing is it business? Yep, we're going to be doing the business route.js. We're going to be doing the, what other one? Sports.js. And we're going to be doing science.js. Now, these are the 3 categories that I picked. You don't have to pick these. You can choose to pick whichever ones you want to. I just did this. I just used these because they, like, to be frank, I just picked them because they're the ones that corresponded to my everyday life better. So now we can go back to, what was it, news.api, news.api.org/docs. There we go. And I'm already signed in. Let's see. Let's just make this bigger. Cool. Why is it doing this? Let's refresh this. Documentation. If you're logged in. Oh, okay, cool. So we just have to click everything. It just looked strange for a second. So now we run down the category. And where's the category here? Oh, top headlines, sorry. So we come back to top headlines, and where it says category, here you go. So these are the categories you could pick from: business, entertainment, general, health, science, sports, technology, sources. Whichever one fits your fancy, go ahead and pick it. These are the ones I pick, but how do we go about doing so? Like, if we have these, how do we go about using these categories? Well, I believe there is an example here. Let's see. This is top headlines. This is from sources. Oh, yep, this is for categories. So if you come to this one, it tells you top headlines from Germany, but we're not going to be using DE as the ISO code. We're going to be using US. So when we come back down here, for each of them, what we want to do first is say, in this one, you don't use RAFCE, you just do require, const, and I'm going to call it, const express first, and then it's just going to be require express, and then it's going to be const. We're going to call this business route. We're going to say require, we're going to say, I don't know why I keep saying that, express dot router, and make it a function. Cool. So in the hero part, we just called it const hero route express router, but because we're using business, I called it business route. You can, once again, it's a variable, you can pick and choose whichever one you want. I'm just trying to make sure it's easily readable, so that's why I picked that. So what I want to do is module dot exports is equal to business route. So we're exporting this route, this business route, and we're going to come right back to index.js here, and we're going to say the same thing we did for hero page. We're going to say business route. We can name it the same thing, and we're going to say slash routes slash business. Okay, so now how do we use it? So same way we did it here, app.use slash business, comma, did I use slash business in the development one? I can actually check, I don't know, I'm just looking around. Slash business, index.js. Yeah, I just use slash business and slash search. Okay, so slash business, and then we're just gonna name it business route. Yeah, I don't know why I was looking around. So, okay, so what did we do here? We made an error somewhere. Slash business, hero, business route. Where is it? Maybe because we're not finished with it. So const business route equals express dot router, module that exports equals business route. So if we say business route dot get, and just say get for right now, require respond. Let's see if that, yep, that works. Okay, so it's just because we never finished up we never used the express dot router. So now that we used it, it should be fine. Let's see. So we did that, but what we want to do here is similar to what we did here in what we did in here. So we want to use a get function, get method, and it's going to be in a synchronous function. It's going to be in a synchronous function, and then we want to say hero data await axios.get and this. So what I'm going to do is copy this, right? Come back to headlines, not headlines. Come back to I have way too many of these open. Let me just close out of all this. We'll just use the one we need so far. Okay, so we come back to business route, and we're gonna make our own variable and say business data is equal to await, but remember this is an asynchronous function, async, if I could spell, await axios dot get, but we're gonna be using backticks. So there we go, and then we text wrap that. And for those of you using a Mac, and if you want to if you want to wrap the text on the editor, you can just press Option Z, and it just like wraps it around. But that's besides the point. So at Axios.get this, but now we don't only just want the page size and the country. We're gonna also say and if you look over here, it's the same thing here. And category is equal to, we're gonna say business, right? Category is equal to business. Save. So let's see, country, category. Did I spell everything right? Business. Cool. So what do we do now? We say res.send, and we're sending business data. Actually, no, business data.data. There we go. And we're going to say console.log business data.data. So now if we go to, so what I forgot to do, I believe, I don't think I did it, was go back to index.js in the server side. And remember, I didn't forget to do it. So remember, it's /business now. So this route is automatically going to /business, unlike the hero page where this corresponded to just localhost 5000. So let me get this open also. Sorry, I'm using one screen and I'm trying to make sure you can see both sides this time. So it's a little complex. So in app.use for hero page, we simply used this backslash, meaning localhost 5000, because we're running on localhost 5000. That's what we used for the server, localhost 5000. But here we're saying localhost 5000 / business page. This one is just localhost 5000. This one is / business. So if I come to business, I just only have to put a slash because this backslash just pertains to /business. So asynchronous, it's an asynchronous function. So we're using await axios.get, and we're just doing this. So now, if we save this and come back here, let's make this smaller. We'll come back here and we say localhost 5000 / business. So before I go to that, just make sure you're looking at this console. So this console, it says something went wrong. Cons business data API key. Oh, sorry. So what we forgot to do was so if you look here in hero page, we forgot to bring in the API key by using process.env.api key. We forgot to require the env, and we forgot to require Axios. So what I can actually do is just copy these three rather than rewrite them, and do that. And now say localhost 5000 localhost 5000 / business. So if you pay attention to the console again, okay, so we just got to close. Chrome does this thing where we just have to close the whole thing and then open it back up. So new window, it just, for some reason, it does that. Localhost 5000 / business. Cool. So here's the whole thing. So the only reason we closed out of it is because I guess it saves the data already, and it already knew because the console crashed already. So since the console crashed, we have to like close out of the internet browser and then reopen it. That's pretty much what happens. So once you do that, as you can see in the console, the same thing that shows on the browser, because we sent it to the browser, this shows, and it also shows on the console because it says console.log this. So we have that. So before we do anything on the front end side, let's do the same thing for the back end. But what we're going to do is we're going to copy all this. Let's close out of business since we're done with that. Let's make this page more efficient. So we do this, except this time we're going to say this is on the science path. So we're going to say science route. We're going to change this to science. Okay, and we're going to call this science data. And we're going to call this science data, and also science data. But we're not going to save it yet because it's just not going to work. So we can come here and say const. We're just actually, let's just bring this down one, change this to science route. So when we save this, then we can save that one. Change this to /science. And do the same thing here. We only need one. There we go. Change this to science. So we're just copying this one down. So we're copying the one down and changing it. So for those of you who don't know what I'm doing right now, so it's just like you press Shift Option down button, the down arrow, and it just copies it down, and then you can just change it rather than like hitting copy and paste. So now let's go here first before we save it again and make sure everything's ready. So if we save this, now we can save this. Business route is not defined. We did something else. We did something. So science route, science. This is what happens when you take the shortcut. Okay, here it is. Science route. We forgot to do that. So, like I said, if we come over here to science and do that, it gives you the science one. So it gives you the one for science. So we're going to do the same thing again. And we're going to close out of science so we don't call it, and go to sports. And we're going to paste it. Let's change this first so we don't forget. Change this to sports. And we're going to change this to sports route. Sports route. Let's see. Anything else we're missing? Ooh, okay, we missed something. So when I just saw it by looking over here. So let's go back to let's cancel this. So let's go back to business. In the API, we never, no, not business, sorry. Let's go back to science. So in science, we changed everything except we forgot to change the category to science. So that's a big one. So if we do that and then we refresh it, it should give us something else. Let's close this server. Let's close this out. npm run start. And now we're going to reopen it. Localhost 5000 / science. Okay, so some of the articles don't look like science related. That's probably why I was a little confused. Okay, so we're done with that. And then for sports, you're gonna do the same thing. Just make sure you change that to sports, category to sports, everything the same. Change this to sports. Everything else leave the same. Same here. And sports route. Okay, so let's come here first and make sure we make the route here first before we save it, unless it's going to crash and we're going to have to close the browser again, so we don't want to do that. Sports, let's come here again. Instead of science, let's say sports. Oh no, made a mistake. We forgot to bring this down one and then change this to sports. And we're going to change this also to sports. And we're going to save. And now we got to save here too. And we can't save that because we forgot to change that to sports. Awesome. So now if I close out of this, let's open this up, close out of that, localhost 5000 / sports. And bam, that's it. So yeah, some of these yeah, some of these articles do not look sports related, but that's neither here or there. So we have the backend completely set up for what we have to do now. We're just going to close out of that so we don't keep calling it. We're going to close out of this. Now we can go back to um, headlines. But for headlines, what we're going to do is go back to Material UI. Let's make this bigger so it's not giving us a small mobile size view. Let me close out of that. That's fine. MUI.com. Get started. And we're going to look here for something called tabs. So I believe it should be, is it in components? Tabs. If you just, actually, let's make this easier. Just come here and search tabs and it'll pop up. And here we go. So we're using just tabs. That's it. So these are some examples of tabs. And I believe the tab I used was, you can use any of them. I didn't use disable tab, but you can pretty much use any of them. I think I used this for the full width. Okay, so I found the one we used. So we used center. Well, the one I used. I used center, so we're going to be using centered, just to center the tabs in the middle of the page, in the center of the page. So what we're going to do is just hit, okay, so you're going to see it like this, and where it says centered, the source code is going to be right below it, right there. So it's going to say show full source code. And so show the full source. So we're going to click on that and just make sure you're using JavaScript, because it might give you the TypeScript version. You want the JavaScript since we are using since this is a JS project. And I believe there's a way to copy it right here. Okay, so the way I do this is going to be a little different than if you already know how to use Material UI. So uh, just make sure you're following along a little closely. So let's close this. This is my other one. And let's join this here. Okay. So what we're going to do is come down here. Actually, we're going to take all this out. So we're going to delete this whole thing and save it. So if we look at our localhost 3000 page, what just happened? Okay, that's why. So if we look over here, there's nothing in it. So that's why. So what we're going to do is paste all what we just copied from Material UI. We're just going to paste it there, and then we're going to save. That shows up. So this is going to show up right now. What you see here is going to show up. And what we're going to do is now say, because I don't want to use export default function center tabs. I don't want to use that. So what I want to do is say RAFCE right at the bottom. And we're going to call this constant headline. We're going to take this part, cut it out, and come right here and put that right there. Now we're going to take all this stuff and we're going to take it out. And import React from React. We can take that, and I just like to change it from this. I just like this aesthetic better. And there we go. So now we're using the default headline nav, which is what we have as a component. So I just like doing that because it's easier to understand if there's a mistake somewhere. So if I run into a mistake, I know an error. Sorry, if I run into an error, I know, all right, this is usually how it would be set up if I were to write this myself, like from off the top of my head. So I know where to look for, rather than if I had it, let's go back to what it was before. If I had it like this, yes, it works, but if there's an error here somewhere, it doesn't look like what I'm accustomed to. So there's a higher chance that the error is going to take me a longer time to figure out, just because aesthetically or just functionally, this isn't how I write the code. So, but if this is how you write the code, you can change the export default function here just to headline nav, and like you should be fine. But I think, let me see, function headline nav, and yeah, you should be fine. So that's what it's being exported as. So you're fine. But I don't like it this way. So um, hopefully I saved it. No, I didn't, of course. So we're just going to go back and do it again. Just say RAFCE. Take this headlines X. Cut. paste it over here and just take all this stuff out and change this. 1 second. Import React from React. Take that, plug it in there, and everything here. So just delete, and we're all good. So as you can see, it still works. So even if I refresh it, it's still there. So what this is saying is everything. Basically I can click on this tab and whatever is in here would show up. And click on this tab, whatever's over here would show up. And on the main, 1 second. As you can see on this one, once the server kicks in, I'll be able to show you better. But let's see, it should kick in. And yep, there we go. So on this one, if I click sports shows up, science shows up, business stuff shows up. So now how do we put things within each tab? So if you come here, it says, so what we can do first is change this to say what we want it to say. So we can say business. So as you can see, it changed. We call this, and you can you can call it whatever it pertains to when in regards to what you picked. So I picked business, sports, and what was the last part? Science. So now that we have business, sports, and science showing up in here, what we want to do is get the data and put it inside each of the tabs, like each tab that it relates to. So we want to put the business where it relates to, the sports where it relates to, and the science where it relates to. So what we need to do now is we only completed the first part of Material UI. Trust me, it's not a hard process. It's just copy and paste. So now we want to make sure that if you can, as you can see, it's just like a little bit of code we have right now. So we want to transfer in more code that pertains to like what's going to be within the tabs. And we also want to use the full width, the full width, the full width variant. So our let's do this so it looks the same as what you would be seeing. So we want to use the full width, and this would allow for the uh, for the data to be more to be mobile responsive, because it's taking a whole width of the page. So it's allowing anything we render in here to be fully responsive, as well as these tabs. So we're going to use full width for the variant. So the way we go about it is, remember, we show the source, make sure the source is in JavaScript, and we're going to copy everything here except for swipe views and React. So let's just take this, copy it, and we're going to put it right there. And everything under swipe views we're going to use. So theme, app bar, tabs, typography, and box. Some of them are already going to be there, so we can just delete them after we use them, after we paste it. So some are going to show up twice, and whichever one's highlighted from at the bottom means it's been used before. So we're going to do this. If we come back here, as you can see, it still compiles. So what we now do is we come back here, we scroll, and we're just going to take all, I think 3 of these functions, 2 of these functions. Yeah, we're going to take 2 of these functions and just copy it over. So this function props, it ends here. We're just going to take that, copy it, and we're going to paste it right before the const headline, before the headline function. We just put this here, and I'll explain to you why we're doing this in a minute. This top panel. Oh, so we also doing it for top panel prototypes. We're just going to do that, copy, and put it right after what we just pasted. Save that, and function alley props. We're going to take this, copy this function, paste it right here. We're going to save this. So everything else we're going to leave because we have it under const headline, and then we're going to scroll all the way right down to return, where it's returning stuff. We're not going to take anything from this swipe views at the top here, but we're going to take tab panel. So we're going to take all 3 tab panels and just do this, copy, and we're going to put it right before the box, the closing tag. I'm just going to do this. Let's save. Theme is not defined. Is it? Use theme. Let's see, where do we make a mistake? Theme. It doesn't even matter. We don't need it. So let's do this. We don't need it. It does not matter. And if we look over here, as you can see, it says item 1, item 2, item 3. And we can come up here and just take out this theme since it really doesn't, and app bar doesn't matter. So we just leave it at this 6. So you should have 6 imports that work for this headline page when it pertains to material, for this headline component when it pertains to Material UI. Okay, so that's the, like that part's just copy and paste pretty much. So you're all done. So we can close out of that. That's all we're going to be using Material UI for. So let's put this down a little. Let's move this down. Where is it? Let's move this down a little bit. Jeez, there we go. So what we're going to do now is, as you can see, okay, so I said I was going to explain it. So what we're saying is basically all this you don't really need to know. It's just you really don't. Here typography is children, right? So when you come down here, where is it? Actually, it's not really that important. Let's just keep it at this because we don't have to get into all that. It's not really that big of a deal. I don't even think we needed alley props, did we? No, we didn't. We don't need that. So we can take out. Oh yeah, we just don't need it. So you can keep it as what I had before, but to be honest, you don't need it. I just had it there. We don't need alley props, but it's easier to go in state when you copy it from Material UI. It's easier to just go 1, 2, 3, than like look for where the beginning of the function starts and where the end of it starts. But if you just take the whole function and paste it, take the other function, paste it, take the third, and paste it. It's so much easier when you come here and then just take out the ones you don't need, rather than finding the ones you don't need on Material UI and pasting it over. It's a hassle. So because a lot of it you're probably not going to need. So you just need this, and you don't really need to know what's going on. Just know at the return portion is where we're working on, is what we're working with. So here it says tab value index 1. So this is index 1, this is index 2, and this is index 3. If I wanted another tab panel, if I wanted another one, I would say tab panel 3, and I would just call it, I would come up here, tab label, and I would call it like uh, math, and it would show up there. And if I click it, it says the same thing. So if I say item math, as you can see, that's all it's doing. So it's due to like this being within children and how everything up here is set up, but we don't have to go into it. Just remember, um, in the return, that's what we're working with for right now. So if you wanted to add an extra tab for your project, this is how you'd go about it. You just take tab panel. You just take tab panel from here, the open and closing tab, just copy it down there and change the index to number 3, and then change this to like item 4, and then you can do the same thing below it and make it 5. That's pretty much how it works. You just have to make sure this goes in order of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, just so you don't run into any problems. But I don't need that, and I don't. Oh, and also the tab label. You come here and then copy this down one and change the name of the tab label to whatever you want. So that creates a 4th one. So if I take this out now and I save it, it goes away. So I have this, and I have this, and that's all I need right now. So if I save that, that's that. So what I can do now is come in here in this component and create a component for all this, for all of this. So I'm going to say business.jsx. I'm going to say sports.jsx, and I'm going to say science. .jsx, right? And within science, I'm going to say RFCE, save that. We don't need to use that at all. Business, RAFCE, save that. Sports, RAFCE, and save it. So, and for people who don't use arrow functions, I believe you can just say RFCE, and it'll use the function method. So if you're not familiar with the arrow, you can just say RFCE. A means arrow, so you just be RFCE, and you should be set. We don't need that though, because I use the arrow most of the time. So we just do it this way. And now, within each of them, let me see something really quickly. Make sure that's what I did. Okay, so we just passed it in here. Okay, so within each of them, we're going to be, well, I might as well, I'm going to code it out, so I know why I'm showing you that. So let's come here to hero. I'm just going to close out of this. And we're going to keep, we can actually close out of all of this. So what we're going to do is say, come up here to headlines right here. And we're going to be using state. So const, I'm going to say, what did I name the state functions? Headlines. What did I name them? Okay, science info says science info, sports info says sports info, business info says business info. Okay, so we're going to be saying const set. We're going to use business first. We're going to say business info, and we're going to say set business info is equal to use state. And remember, we're getting an array of objects. That's what we're getting in return. So, yep, it's going to say that because we did not import use state. So, and if you guys are following along and you enjoy this, could you please leave a like, subscribe, and put some comments in the comment section? It really goes a long way. I really appreciate it. So yeah, back to this. What did I just do? Okay, so I did this. So now what I want to do is use effect. So if you guys remember in Hero, we did a use effect here. So we're doing the exact same thing, but we're doing it within headlines. And then for those of you who are thinking ahead, we're gonna pass that prop into business, headline, and science, business, science, and sports. So let's keep going. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but that's pretty much what we're doing. So use effect is also going to be called, and you can see it's imported already. So use effect, and we're going to say const. Did we use fetch data again? Yep, we used fetch data. So we're going to say const fetch data is equal to the synchronous function, the sync request response. Wait, no, I don't know why I just did that. That's not that's backend. So is equal to an asynchronous function, which is equal to const business data. Is that what we called it? Business data. Yep. Const business data is equal to await axios.get and what was the localhost http localhost 5000. Remember, it's /business, right? /business. And what we're doing here, /business. Okay, so that's pretty much that. And that there. And we're going to say console.log business data.data. And let's see. So what did we use as the, okay, so, yep, and then, yep, just pass it in there. Cool. So, sorry, I'm just making sure everything correlates, so I'm not just like redoing this offhand. Okay, so now we can say, where is it? Set, oh, I said business info. Oh, yes, set business info. Set business info, business data, data, data. There we go. Let me just save that. So now in item 1, we want business, right? So we're going to come here and we're going to bring in that business. We're going to import this business component. I don't know why it's not showing up. Import. Did I not save it here? I don't know what's doing that. Let's try it again. I think I didn't save it. Yeah, let's bring that in again. Yeah, I don't think I forgot to save it. I think. I don't know why it's not. There we go. Business. There we go. And there we go. Yeah, I forgot to save it. So business. So as you can see, all it says is business because of this. But what we're going to be doing is saying business, and then we're going to be passing this set business info as a prop, because set business info is holding on to the data that we got from the API. We can't see it right now, but this is holding on to the data. So how do we do that? So we say business, and we're going to name it business info, just so everything's uniform, is equal to, so we're saying this is equal to business info. So let's go back to what we were talking about. Let's expound on what we just did. Here we just called a regular use effect, right, within the headlines function, headline nav function. We called a regular one, and we said const fetch data is equal to async, blah 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 blah. Constant fetch data is equal to await axios.get, and we got it from the localhost 5000 business. I'm not going to open it up because we already saw it. That's where we're getting the information from. We're console logging it. So, well, we actually don't need to console log it. That's just a habit. So we're getting that information, and we're sending that business information. We're sending that we're getting that business data information and saying business data.data and setting it as set business information, meaning it's being held right now. Whatever information we get is being held by set business info, but we're going to use business info as the actual data set. We're setting the business info, and then we're using business info to work with the data. That's a better explanation. So where are we? Business info, because business info, and I believe we also transferred. Cool. All right. So here we're gonna say we're gonna give it a dependency. So remember the dependency, what we talked about in the first part is what we're doing here, and then we're gonna say fetch data function. We're calling this, we're returning this fetch data. So now it's not gonna keep it's not gonna keep what's the word, fetching, because it's, if we take this out, this dependency, it's going to keep fetching. And to understand the dependency more, I tried as much as possible to like explain it in the first one. So if you want to remember, if you forget what it is, or you skip past it, you can go back to the last one and it's going to explain it more. And then let's see, what else? Okay, so now where are we? Here it is, business info. So we passed this. We said business info is now equal to business info. You can change. This is just a variable. This part, the part on the left, is a variable. That's all that is. We're saying business info is think of it as const business info is equal to business info. So you can change this to business data is equal to business info. The one in the brackets is what in the parentheses, I guess that's brackets. The ones in the brackets, the one in the bracket is what we set up here. So now I can come into business, right, and then pass it in as a prop and say business info, right? So now we're not just taking business data. We're taking business data articles because it's telling you, it's giving you a list of articles, right? So if I can console log this. So console.log business, or no, I don't even need to console.log it here. I can console.log it in the other one since I already transferred the business data. So this is still here. So I can just say console. Sorry if that part was a bit off. Um, it's also a little nerve-wracking, like knowing people are going to be watching you code. So like explaining things to people. Oh, what am I doing? So close, inspect, console. Yep, as you can see, it's giving you an array of 21 items. So that's what this business info is giving you, this information right here. So it's giving you all this information. Now, we don't want to randomize it because we asked for 21 items. Remember, in the backend, we said we want the page to be 21. We want 21 items in the page. That's how many articles we want. So we got 21 back. Remember, it starts with the array starts from 0 to 20. So that's the length is still 21. So how do I go through this and get every single bit of information without randomizing it? We can map through every single array. So that's what we're going to do. So we already know we don't need to console.log it because every time we console.log, we make a request. I don't want to do that. So now I can just close it. Just close out of this. So what I can do now is say console dot not console, business info and business info dot I closed out of the I've closed out the console, so dot map. So we just called it data business info dot map. Okay, so business info and business info dot map, we're going to use the map object and we're going to use data as the variable. And we're going to say, remember I like to use the arrow function, so some people don't, they just like go straight into it. So I use the arrow function. There's another method of doing it that's not an arrow function. Oh, we can't put it within h1 tag because that's not what we want. So, and we're going to return. So don't forget to put return because we're going to be returning multiple things. Return within parentheses, and then say h1. And we're going to say data dot. So data is now pertaining to everything within business info because we are mapping through every single thing. So every single thing is being held within data. And then we're going to say data title dot question mark dot title. Let's see if this works now. As you can see, every single item shows up. Literally everything we have, because we map through it. We map through every single thing, and now it shows up here. So is like I was gonna ask if that makes sense, but like, I can't see you guys. So data question mark dot title, and the reason we're using question mark is in case there's some of these don't have data. It just doesn't return an error. Let's say for example none of them have data, none of them have titles. This for example, then it's just going to return an error. But if you query it and say data, is there a title? And it's going to show you the title. But if there's not, it's not going to show you a title. So that's pretty much what's going on here. But as you can see, every single thing is mapped out here. So if that should give you a sense of how we're gonna get the images. We're just gonna put it between image tags, and we're gonna get all the images out. So now, let's say business info and business info dot map. We have that so far. Now let's close out of business and let's go into sports. We're doing the exact same thing. So within the same headline, nav, the same headline where we had business data, we're gonna do the same thing for what's it called? We're gonna do the same thing for sports. Did I do sports next? It doesn't matter the order. I'm just trying to make sure in case I put this out in case I make this repository public. I might not use the original, so I want to make sure everything looks the same. We use science. Wait, where's headlines? There it is, headlines. So we did. In fact, we did science. Did we do science first? Yeah, we did science first actually, and then we did sports. Oh well, I mean, order doesn't matter. You pretty much get the idea. So now we can say const. So let's just pick sports because we go business sports. So sports info and set business info, and we're gonna make it use state equal use state, and it's an array of objects. That's what we're getting back. Set sports info. There we go. And we're gonna, yep, that's that. And we're doing the exact same thing again. Let's go to sports. Doing the exact same thing again. We're gonna be saying use effect, and we can use the same variables. Well, similar variables. And we're gonna be saying const fetch data, so we can use that same one. Is it sync? Because it pertains to it's local to this. So sync is local to this use effect function. The sync. Right. Wait, what did I do wrong? Const. Oh, I forgot the arrow. Okay. Is equal to, and then we're gonna say const. So here we said business data. We're gonna say sports data. So we're gonna use basically similar await axios.get, and we're doing the same thing except we're just gonna name it sports. So I don't feel like typing all that out. Is it sports or sports? I'm asking you like you're here to respond. What did I name it? I named it sports or sport slash sports with an S. That's what I named it. Okay, at least over here, sports, and we're gonna save that. Okay, and oh, okay. So as you can see, every time I save this request, this business part request, we don't want that because we don't want to make too many calls. So I'm just gonna do what I did with the hero, and I'm going to um, I'm just gonna comment all this out just so we don't keep getting returns, and I'm gonna comment this part out too. Actually, that's fine. We don't have to save it until the end. So sports, and then we're gonna say set sports info, and we're gonna say sports data dot articles. Okay, we just saved it. So we can come back down here. Sports. Do we not save anything? So if I come here and save sports, headlines. Now I should be able to. There it is. I guess I just forgot to save all that stuff. So now we imported sports, and we're gonna pass this data in, and we're gonna say sports info is equal to sports info, and make sure it's slash sports. Save. And now we're gonna come back to sports, and we're gonna do the exact same thing, except I'm lazy and I don't want to type all that out. So we're just gonna say Control C, type this out, and we're gonna change this to sports info. Work smarter, not harder. Sportsinfo.map, data, return, data.title. Okay, so we're just gonna keep data as the variable, so that's done. Just preserving requests here. And for this one, let's just make sure our science is what the next one is. Science is saved, so we can just import it. And now we can just come back here. And let's import science first. Science. Come on, man. gonna crash because we didn't import it. Import science from, there we go. So that's imported. What else? Okay, so now we got to do the same thing for science. So it's a little tedious, but we gotta do what we gotta do. Science info set science info. We're just gonna change this up and just call this science data. Science data. Oh, we forgot to do something here. We forgot to get the return to fetch data function. So fetch data over there. Oh, see, as you can see, we messed up. You see that? That kept calling. Why? Because we didn't put the dependency. So we just wasted a couple of requests over there. And I keep saying I wasted a couple of requests over there. So we're gonna do the same thing here before we forget. And then fetch data. See, he only called it once. So now we didn't even put it here, fetch data. So called it once there too. Cool. So now what are we doing? Remember, we're just passing in that information as a prompt. So value science, this is science info. Science info is equal to science info. Cool. So now if I come here again, if I just copy this, this, science info, science info. And now if I save that, what's happened? Oh, sorry, forgot to pass this in as a prop. Science info, that should be fine. Sports info. Save that. Now, so as you can see, I bet you I forgot to do something here. To save. Okay, let's see science. I think I must have messed something up here. Science info. Science, the last one we did. Oh, I didn't set it. So I didn't set science info. There you go. Sports info and business. So now we can go back to the, let's just make sure we're using the right thing. So set science, set sports, and set business. Okay, we're using the right thing. Slash business, slash sports, slash science. We have to change this to science. And save that. So that should not be the same. Well, I guess you have to close the, hold on, we'll do that later. So business, let's do this. And now let's just clear the console and close, stop the server, start it over, npm run start, npm run start. And it's just going to refresh everything. Make sure we're using the right stuff. Weird. It's like it's getting the same data. I mean, you guys see how it's being done. So that's the most important part. I'm pretty sure I just did something, or maybe that's just the same data. No, that's wrong. That's different. It should be different data. This part's just a technical error. So I typed something that I probably wasn't supposed to type in, or I didn't change something in the back end. So let's check the back end because it's giving us the same data. It's doing what it's supposed to, but I guess I typed in something I wasn't supposed to type in. So if we come here, let's see, science, sports, business. What did we use as business? Okay, we use business. What do we use as science? We use science. And where do we use as sports? We use sports. Okay. Well, there you have it. it just, I guess it's just similar data. So we're pretty much done with the tabs. We can close out of this and we can close out of this. So let's go to business, and we're just going to do what we did for the hero portion. We're going to, no, that's JS. We need the hero. We need the business JSX. So let's go to business JSX, and now we're just going to work with our CSS again. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to just grab the whole thing, and just like last time. See, so it's time, this part we don't waste too much time in, and let's just come here. Actually, let's come here and let's do this. Okay, so now we can just look at it straight up and see what we have to do. So remember I said I made it, I got 21, what's it called? I got 21 articles for a reason, and that's because I want to use this grid 3 columns. I want to use 3 columns for the grid. So when we come here, if I put this all under a div, or enclose it all in a div, so let's see, close the div here. Cool. If I did that, I can give this div a class name of with full. And this is the CSS portion, so if you guys want to do this yourselves, you just skip ahead. But this is pretty much it. So grid calls 3. So if I did this, what I'm saying is I want a width full, a height full, a medium height of that's a medium height, sorry. Width full, height full, a medium on a medium screen and up. I want a grid of 3 columns. So if I open this bigger, it's gonna show you that, as you can see, it's like it's in basically one long column. So I want a column of 3, but I'll show you how to like make that. Let's just keep working on the CSS and it'll make sense. So I want that, and I want the gap on the medium screen to be 4. So let's see. So okay. So right now it's not doing anything because we still have to work on the CSS. So do that, and then let's come down here. So oh, that's why it's not doing anything, because I did it before the return. So we have to put this here, and we have to put this before that. So did we do something wrong? Okay, so we had width full. Oh, that's why. Jeez, man. Yeah, that's why. So this should not be here. This should be up here. Okay, and we have it. Got it. Okay, so now if we look, there we go. It's 3 columns. That's what we want. We want everything to show up in 3 columns. So this is the first article, second article, third article, fourth article, fifth article, sixth article, and so forth, all the way till we get to 21. You can always request more than 21. I just put it at 21 because I didn't paginate it. So I didn't add any pagination to it. I just wanted 21 articles, and because it's top headlines, it's rare you find 21 top headlines on one specific category. So business, there's it's usually a couple of headlines. So 21 headlines is pushing it. So I just did that. Now, if I was looking for data from like 19 something or 2010 or something like that from an older period of time, then I would use pagination to keep scrolling through page 1 all the way to whatever page 100 I want. But since it's headlines, I just put 21. You can do whatever suits you. Let's see. So what I did was enclosed all this within a div, within this div. Forget about this div. It's just I only put that div there because If you put this without a div covering it or some kind of, let's do this. It's a lot better. So if I did this, it still works the same, but you can't put this up here even if it's commented out without an enclosing. So like you have to put some kind of tag. React just compiles an error. It doesn't compile, it just returns an error if you did it without an enclosing tag. So let's forget this part. We're just working with this div. So this div, we're encasing everything within this div. We're making it widthful, heightful, and on a medium screen and up, we're saying it should be a grid set. It should be a grid, and it should be grid column, and we need 3 columns. Now, Tailwind has, you can go to Tailwind and put the grid layout, and it's going to tell you how many columns you can create and things like that. Medium gap, so I'm saying on a medium screen, there should be a gap of 4, meaning if I open this up, between each column, there's a gap, and 4 represents the gap. So if I say at 3, it'll make it smaller, the gap a little smaller. If I said more than 4, it'll make it bigger. Tailwind has the documentation on like the numbers and everything as such. So I do that. So now we want to return. In our return, we're doing another div, and we're going to enclose this in another div, and we're going to say class name. I'm doing the CSS last because I know like a lot of people are not always interested in the CSS based on the comments of like when I was learning how to code, just seeing it. So what we're saying here is widthful on every screen, heightful on every screen so far, and now we're saying on a medium screen we want a padding of 5 around the data we're going to use. So let's do this real quick. So if we do this now, as you can see, there's no padding that went into effect, but if we open this, as you can see, there's a padding here now. We want the padding here because when we put the image, we don't want everything all squished up together. Squished up. I don't know if that's a word, but medium padding 5. And then we want a border around it. So we want a border around the whole thing. So if I open this up more, as you can see, everything's within a border. So I want that border there because we want to make it, we want to give it a tile feeling, like a tile aesthetic. So it seems like every article is by itself. And then the margin top, I'm going to give it a 3 just to give it some space at the top here. Right in top 3, we're going to say medium border none. So on a medium screen and up, so if I make this a bigger screen, there's no border. So we're saying there's no border on a medium to large screen, medium, large, and so forth. There's no border. Let's do this. So medium screen, there's no border. And we're saying transition, because we're going to give it some animation. Transition is ease in, out. Delay for 75. I believe it tells you what 75 is. Delay, IntelliSense, delay 75. So it's telling you to delay it for 75 milliseconds. So save that. I believe it's milliseconds. It should be milliseconds. So there's no animation right now because we haven't told it. We didn't tell it what to do yet, but that's what the animation is going to be. Now this is the animation. We're gonna anytime we hover on it, we're gonna scale 90. So we're gonna transform. Here it is. Here's the thing. So we're gonna transform, translate on the x-axis, blah 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 on the y. Basically, the documentation will go more in depth. I just know this is how I did it. So now, as you can see, anytime I hover on it, there's an animation that takes approximately like 75 milliseconds to go into effect, as you can see. So that's how we put all that in the div. So now, for the link, let's just come here and say link to, sorry about that noise in the background, my dogs are having a field day with the bone. They got URL, and then target is equal to blank, relative Remember, this is what we did in the last one, so I'm not really going to explain it because we already went through it. We went over it on the last part. So we're going to say no refer and close that. And we're going to open this up, take this, put it in there, and I'll like slightly go over what we just did and say, oh, we didn't. So we got to import. Usually imports by itself, but I don't know what IntelliSense is doing today. Import link from React router DOM. Okay, so what we're saying is anytime we click on this, on anything here, it's gonna take us to the link of the URL that pertains to it. So if I click on this, it's gonna take me to that exact to that URL. So that's pretty much that. So what was it? The books one. So if I just move this over here, so as you can see, that's the article and that's everything that it is. So I'm just gonna close that and I'm gonna move myself back over here. Cool. So yeah, cool. So what else did we say? Now we went to the image first. So we said image class name is equal to width full. So we want the image to be full, pertaining to the div that it's encased in. So width full, height full, and we're gonna give it a padding. Okay, let's not do the padding first so we can see it in an action. And then the source is gonna be data dot question mark dot URL to image, and that's what the source is. That's what the um, as you can see, URL to image is what the image is based on the API. That's where you get it from. That's why I keep getting URL to image from. And then, do I have anything else? Oh, key. Remember, we said key was important for React. And we just, actually, I'm not going to type all this. So, search. Copy, paste, and then we can close it out. So, if I save that, as you can see, that's it right there. So, what we can do now is now give it that padding of 5. So, we'll come back here and look what the padding does. Padding is 5, and there you go. So, it gives it a little padding. So it's not just within, so there's space between the border and the image. So that's what it does. And if you look at it full screen, it's 3 of them. And remember, there's no padding on the full screen. On the bigger screen, on the medium, it's a large screen. medium and above, not necessarily just large. Okay, and now this H1, we're gonna give it some styling. So we're gonna say text black, which already is. I'm gonna say text. I'm gonna center it. See, that's what it does right there. And we're gonna save. So now this link says when anytime we click either the what's this called, the article name. So anytime we click anything within this div, anything within here, it takes us right to that URL. I'm not gonna click it again because we already did. Actually, whatever. So we just click. Let me move myself over here. So we click this again. So whatever we click, that's it. So whatever we click, it goes right to it. That's cool. Put myself back over there. And yeah, that's the CSS for it. So if I just do that, so that's the CSS that we're going to be using for every single component. So business, science, and sports. So what I can do just to make this a lot faster is just take everything within. We don't need this part. I just did that to explain something. So we can take everything within this div, copy it, bring it in here, and we'll just change it to sports info later. So do this, and now we're just going to change this to sports info. Work harder, work smarter, not harder. Sports info. Sports info. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So everything else stays the same. Link. It's always link. import the link. And if I go to sports, yeah, I don't know why the data is all the same, but I'm pretty sure I got the category mixed up in the back end, or I just need to restart the. I think the thing's just cached in the server on the browser, so I think it's just holding on to some cached images or data. I'm not too sure. I'll figure it out. But that part's not necessary right now. So you probably have the right data. In fact, I just either messed up somewhere in the text, or maybe when I copied and pasted something, I forgot to change something. But the final results, what we're getting in terms of like we want stuff to show up here is what I'm trying to say. Um, Now what else? Uh, what else did we need? Science. Did we do science? Okay, so we're just gonna do the same thing. Science, and we're gonna change this to science. And I bet you the people who already saw this, the people who are watching this who saw my mistake or my error or something are like screaming at themselves, like it's right there. And it's always link. So link. Okay, so that's how you do that. So let's put everything together now. So what did I save? I didn't save this. Okay, so let's put everything together now. So if I come to hero and I just uncomment all this, wait, what just happened? It's just oh, okay, that's why. So let's comment all this out, right? Yeah, and then come over here, uncomment this. As you can see, everything. Let's make this like that. Let's just go back to this beam. See, everything shows. But the problem is this is high. This is very, very high. It's super high. We don't want that. So we can give it some padding. So if we come back to, let's close out of all this because we don't need all this anymore. So if we come back to this and we say headlines and we come here, let's wrap this. Let's show you this part so you can see what happens. So if we come back here to headlines nav and we go down to the return, yep, to the return, width is 100, background color is background paper, whatever that's set to, that doesn't really matter. We can now say padding is 5. All right, how does it go? Padding is 5. Hold on, how did I say it? Material UI has its own weird way of writing stuff in there. I know I said padding was 5. Yep, P 5. Yeah, it's a column. So P colon 5. And that's what I missed. You got to put a comma because it's an object. So as you can see, that moved and that created a pattern of 5 around it. Yeah, so we're done with that. So in order not to make this any longer than it should be, because this is a pretty long video, this is the, man, all this stuff is sad. So this is the main part of, this is what we're looking for. Like this is what we're aiming to do. On the next part, we'll finish it up. So like I said, it's either going to end on this part or there's going to be one more. So right now there's going to be definitely one more. And we're just going to create the nav and add the search input, which is going to send information to the back end. So it could populate on another page. So it's gonna go localhost 3000 / search, and whatever you search for is gonna populate on that. So for example, if I search here for PlayStation, I don't know why that's not working. Okay, that's because the server went out. So give it a second here. Yep. Now if I said PlayStation, everything PlayStation would appear here, or anything related to PlayStation. Remember, these are all headlines. So like I said, how many headlines pertaining to what you searched is going to show up from like the closest week or the nearest week or the current month or the current week. There's not going to be 21 major headlines. So anything that comes out is the most relative um, relative story or the most relative article pertaining to what you search. But that's what we're going to be working on. So we're going to be working on this nav bar. We're going to be working on this search, and then we're going to be sending whatever we search here to the back end so it could populate here with the information. But yeah, that's it. So hopefully you guys like this video. A little long, but I try to cover every single part of it. I do appreciate you guys showing love on the last video. I saw it had a lot of views. I really appreciate that. If you guys want, you can go ahead and like the video. You go ahead and subscribe, and you go ahead and comment in the comment section. It would be much appreciated. Let me know what you guys think also in the comment section, whichever part was confusing, whichever part you want me to go more in depth on in another video. When I make another project, I can do that. And how do you like the video cutout? Because that's something I'm trying to add to my videos. But with that being said, hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the third part.